So we now know the 20 clubs that will make up the 2025-2026 Premier League campaign, but who is actually going to win the title this coming season? Who, of course, will be heading down? We're going to take a look at all of that and much more in my insane early predictions that are coming at you next. Right, folks, back once again with another video. Today is, of course, that time of the year. It is my insane early door predictions. This time we're going to take a look at the Premier League. And of course, the brand new squeaky clean season is, of course, a long way away. 2025, 2026, got a whole couple of months ahead. But what's my gut take on this coming season? Who, of course, will win the title? Who, of course, will go down? We're going to take a look at all that in a minute. If you know where you've been, smash your subscribe. You're subscribe for Blackburn Rovers, Wolf Football. We're going to all here, Premier League, under one Rooski. In fact, we've got a busy summer up ahead with the likes of the Club World Cup, we've got the Gold Cup, we've got the Internationals, all that kind of coming at you. So if you are new, where the hell have you been? Hit the old subscribe. Your one-stop shop for all that is here. And a big shout out to the members and the patrons, of course. So what we're going to do now, though, is, of course, have a look at my guess for this coming season, my prediction for the 2025-2026 Premier League campaign. We're going to start from the middle, work our way down, and then, of course, from the top 10 all the way to the top. So sit tight. In fact, hold on to the end of the video. There's a bit of a tweak to this coming season, a little bit of spice to add to the mix. What am I talking about? Well, I'll tell you. Let's get into it. To another spot we go in the Premier League, and it is Brentford. That's right, with Thomas Frank at the helm. Of course, Brentford should be safe as houses in mid-table heading into the brand new squeaky clean season. Of course, there'll be a few players heading out, but I do anticipate some new faces coming in. Brian Mbembo on the radar for many clubs in the Premier League and, of course, across Europe. So replacing his output is going to be massive, but keeping hold of Thomas Frank in a scenario, in the merry-go-round that is the managerial situation in the Premier League and around Europe. He is one of the hottest managers out there. Keeping hold of him and you'll do okay. So for me, 11th, Brentford should be safe. It's a 12th spot we go, and it is Brighton and Hove Albion. That's right, Fabian Hüsler's boys did a great season last season. Can they do that too for a second season under his stewardship? Well, that is a major question. They, of course, could be competing in European situations as well. I don't know. I'm recording this ahead of the final game of the season, but they could be playing European football. That might be another matter to keep them preoccupied. And again, just trying to keep on doing their thing in the Premier League is going to be monumental. And again, the season in, season out with these managers that are coming in, doing a great job, that does put them in the spotlight for other clubs as well. So just like Brentford, Brighton must keep a hold of the manager and, of course, keep a hold of some of that talent. They've got a good young squad there, but, of course, it's going to be at the mercy of the scavengers. The bigger clubs are going to be coming. The Van Hecks. I think the João Pedro's also been linked with moves as well. So could be some big faces going out and getting the new faces in to maintain their Premier League status. To 13th spot we go now, and it's Graham Potter's West Ham United. That's right. Not the best first season for him in charge of the Hammers, but of course, hopefully, he'll get it right in his first full season, his second season with the Hammers in London Stadium. Of course, keeping the likes of Jared Bowen at the helm is massive. But I do think it's going to be his first major chance to really put his real stamp on or real authority on this West Ham United squad. And I think 13th spot is not great, to be honest with you. I think they do have high aspirations for him, maybe looking for a top 10 finish, but realistically, I think it's going to be much more competitive next season than it was this past season. Into 14th spot we go now, and it is Fulham. Of course, they're always in that cluster of teams or just on the outside. I do think this season is going to be a little bit more different than it is on the previous couple of campaigns, because Marco Silva is a hot commodity right now, very linked into 14th spot we go now, and it is Fulham, of course. Always in amongst that cluster of mid-table teams here. Can they make that push into the top 8 and beyond? Who knows? I do think they're going to go, their trajectory is going to be on the decrease this season and moving forward, because I do anticipate Marco Silva to not be there. I think he's going to be scalped up by one of the Middle Eastern clubs there out in Saudi Arabia, and then of course that will put Fulham back to the drawing board. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be a lot of movement and shaking in the old managerial hot seats around the Premier League and of course the EFL. Get the right man to come in, take over the reign for Fulham will be massive. But I do think they should have enough in the tank to stick around for another season in the Premier League. It's a 15th spot, and it's Bournemouth. Goodness gracious me, they've just been on a whirlwind of a couple of seasons, haven't they, Bournemouth? I always tipped them to go down. I even thought about tipping them to go down this season, but I just think under Andy Areola, another good coach, another strong coach, they've got the right balance here with the guys at the South Coast. Again, they've got a lot of good talent that could be on the pecking order for other clubs. But ultimately, I think keeping the coach there, keeping some of the key players in there, and just making certain additions here, there, and everywhere. I think Bournemouth will be all right, because I just think there's going to be 2, 3, maybe even 4 clubs much more weaker than Bournemouth heading into this brand new season. Into 16th spot we go now. It's one of the promoted sides. It is Leeds United, currently under the stewardship of Daniel Farke. Now, there was rumours and talk that he was not going to be given a chance to turn this or to give himself a shot at the Premier League, but the owners, the board, they backed him, and they're going to give him a crack at the whip. Now, do I think he's going to be there at the end of the season? I don't think so, to be honest with you, because I do anticipate Leeds to be in and around about that relegation struggle. I have them hanging on here for dear life, but that's probably due to a managerial change, whether a mastermind comes in with a magic wand to steer them towards safety, towards back in the season. But yeah, ultimately, they'll survive on the skin of the teeth. Leeds United in 16th spot. Into 17th spot we go now, and it is Wolverhampton Wanderers. That's right, coming under the managerialship of Victor Pereira. Did a great job last season to keep Wolves in the mix. They were looking down at one point, but of course they got their act together and they managed to make a good, strong end to the campaign. They're likely to lose some of the key faces of the Wolves personnel into the new season, with a lot of key players being linked, especially like one of the big boys moving to Manchester United. Will they get the money to reinvest? I don't know, and I honestly think they could actually be sucked into that relegation discussion. I have them hanging on just by the skin of the teeth, but ultimately they could still go down. But I'm going to have them hanging on in there again. Possibly a change of personnel by December. Who knows? Wolves into 17th at the end of the campaign. Into 18th spot we go now, and the first team to go down in my eyes is Nottingham Forest. That's right. What am I talking about? This might be a bit of a shocker to you Forest fans, but you're going to be competing on multiple levels next season with, of course, European football, whatever standard it is. That means at least an extra 8, maybe even 10 games a season, of course, plus chuck in some other cup games to go into the mix it. And again, the uncertainty about Nuno Espirito Santo. He did a wonderful job there. If he was to go, who's going to come in? You got to be careful what you wish for. So ultimately, I think you're going to have too much. You're going to bid off too much than you asked for, and you're going to get sucked into the relegation zone and not get out of it. So for me, I've got Nottingham Forest in 18th spot, and they're going down. Into 19th spot we go now, and it is Sunderland. Goodness gracious me, Reggie Lebree's boys did fantastic to get to the Premier League, courtesy of the playoff final, of course, but realistically, this squad is so young, so raw, and still learning its trade. I think it's maybe a season too soon for Sunderland. Don't get me wrong, the experience will be great for them, and they'll probably use that this experience to build upon for seasons up ahead. But ultimately, I just think it's a little too soon for this side to come in here. When you look at it, it's very, very raw. Unless they do a Nottingham Forest and spend big, I don't see them doing that. But I just think they're going to be back in the youth, and that youth is going to be it's going to learn the hard way. But ultimately, season in the Premier League, take the money, and come back stronger. Into 20th spot now, it is them six-fingered freakazoids, those banjo-playing weirdos who love their sisters and their mothers, all that kind of good stuff. It's the freaks, that's right, coming at you. It's Scotty Parker's boring boys. Boring in the Championship, they're going to be boring in the Premier League. I cannot believe they're actually here. They're even going to challenge Derby County for the absolutely abysmal record of points scored in the Premier League. Honking, absolutely honking. Go down, you deserve to be down. Scumbags of the earth. Into the top end of the table we go now, and it is Manchester United. That's right, coming in 10th spot. Goodness gracious me, Ruben Amorim has been given a stay of execution. That's right. And of course, going to have to do it the hard way. Possibly even have to sell a few key players to really build a new squad. I think without European football on the agenda, they're going to be a little bit more prepared, a little more up for it. And maybe a full season on the cards, full pre-season. Ruben Amorim can get these boys working in the right direction. Don't get me wrong, they're not going to be the Man United of old, but they're definitely going to be a Man United on the increase. If they can get this season right, or at least on track, then the next couple of seasons will look also quite fruity for them as well. And who knows, they might be getting a nice cup run going to get some silverware in his first full season. Into 9th spot is Oliver Glasner's Crystal Palace. Wow, they're on the climb. He is, of course, a very attractive manager right now, is Oliver Glasner. Could be at the spotlight of any of the bigger boys if they are to look for a new manager. But ultimately, Glasner's boys are going in one direction, that is up. They're going to be in Europe as well for the first time, I think, in history. Keeping a hold of Adam Wharton, of course, Eze as well, Mark Gay at the back. They've got some big, humongous personalities I hope that will stick around for at least one more season for Palace, because I think they could do actually some fruity things in the Europa League, and I'm excited to see what's up ahead for Crystal Palace. Into 8th spot we've got, and it's David Moyes' Everton. Yes, new stadium, new start, new beginnings, new horizon for the Toffees, that's right, and they're going to try to challenge for some European spots, I think. I think with this new era, with David Moyes at helm, of course, it's a safe pair of hands. I think they could even challenge for some silverware as well. They get the groove right. And yes, very optimistic, very exciting times for Everton if they can get off to a bright start. If they can get, up to October, November in the top of the table, I do think they'll remain there till the season comes to a close. They're one of those guys that are going to go on the radar next season. So keep an eye on David Moyes and Everton. Into 7th spot, we have Newcastle United. That's right. Of course, Carabao Cup winners last time around, playing in Europe this time around. Maybe, depending on what happens in the season, who knows? It could be a whole new look to Newcastle, and it could be a new look for the negative. Alexander Isak has, of course, got his admirers. Bruno Guimaraes has also got his admirers as well. So there's a lot of players that are there, that are attractive, that could, of course, be given a dilemma themselves about where they want to play this football. So if they're still there, Eddie Howe's still there, who knows, they could compete for the top 4 once again. But I do think a bit of a downgrade for Newcastle United this time around. Of course, they are in Europe, and of course, they're going to go make a good whole crack of it. Into 6th spot we go now. It's Unai Emery's Aston Villa. That's right. Of course, tremendous gaffer, tremendous spirit, tremendous squad. Of course, Ollie Watkins is the face of the place right now, and he's probably at a crossroads in his life, whether he wants to stick around at Villa Park or maybe go for pastures new. Thinking about it, of course, if he was to go, Morgan Rogers could step up. There was some other cool young players that could make the step up as well. Playing in Europe as well this coming season, so that will also test their limitations. I realistically think it's just how far can Unai Emery take these boys? You know, they've been flirting just in and around that top 5, top 6 for the past couple of seasons. Can they break into the top 3 this time around? I'd like to say yes, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen this time around. Into 5th spot, it's Chelsea, currently under the mentorship of Enzo Maresca. Whether he's going to be there at the end of the season, who knows? I am recording this ahead of the Conference League final, which of course could be some nice silverware for him. And of course, a little bit of a gateway into the Europa League should he need it. Again, I'm recording this ahead of the final game of the season. Chelsea got a lot of young players in the squad, and maybe a little bit of disgruntlement across certain areas of it. But I do think they're going to be still bringing some new faces to the squad. It's a big squad. It does need a little bit of a trim. But is Enzo Maresca the main man to drive home a title? I just don't think so. I think they're going to cut themselves short here into 5th spot. And of course, that might be the end of Enzo Maresca's reign as gaffer. It's a 4th spot, surprise, and it is Tottenham Hotspur. That's right, Ange Postelegroo's boys going for broke here. Top 4 for him. Again, I'm just on the basis that he's given another go of it. The season they've just had has been miserable. They've got the hoodoo off the back, which is of course a trophyless campaign. They've now got themselves a cup. They're in the Champions League. The morale should be high. They've got a bit of money to spend, and if they do have the right man, which I do think it is Ange, and they get the right pre-season, they could start to have a fantastic season. So this is under the agreement that Ange stays. If he doesn't stay, then I do think we might have to revisit this, which we will revisit these probably in about a month's time to see if my opinions have changed. Of course, the managerial situation would have been rectified, and maybe some new faces are already coming in for any one of these Premier League clubs. But for me, right here, right now, I've got to go Spurs and 4th. Into 3rd spot, it is Liverpool. That's right, Arne Slot's boys, of course, current title holders, will take a bit of a backward step. That's right, into 3rd spot, because it is a bit of a transitional season. Of course, Van Dijk's a little bit older. Salah's still there, but again, is he still the Salah of old? That's a big question mark. And of course, it feels like a bit of a rebuild era for Liverpool, even though they are the champions. They still have a lot of the personnel that was there last time around. I just think they're going to have a few new pieces of pie to kind of get situated and up to speed with how it's played at Anfield. So I'm going to go with a backward step here in 3rd place for Liverpool. Arne Slot will still be there, and of course they'll have a good crack of it in the Champions League once again. Into 2nd spot, and it is Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. Forever the bridesmaid, never the bride. Of course, it could be different. They might just, it'll be a close one. I'll give them that. They'll just fall a little bit short, but I'm excited for Arsenal fans because I think they're going to spend a bit of money and bring in a real target man up top, which could be a real game changer for them moving forward. But realistically, is Mikel Arteta the guy? I think he will be given the season. He'll have a go at it. But ultimately, he cannot get the title this time around. I think it could be curtains for him in the hot seat. And then finally, folks, it's number one. It's Manchester City. They're back. Top of the pops, of course, Haaland up there, Mamouche up there, but also a bit of a rebuild as well coming up here for Man City, with, of course, De Bruyne leaving, maybe Silva leaving as well, but not Silva, some other key faces could be departing as it is a bit of a rebuild. Yeah, but I do think there's some disgruntlement already at Manchester City with Pep. I do think this is probably his last season, that's right. But yeah, I do expect some new faces to come in and of course rejig the team. But I think they've got the main guys there right here, right now. Up top, Mamouche, Haaland, of course, Rodri will be back. Of course, he is fundamental for anything going forward for Manchester City and, of course, the Premier League title. There you bloody have it, folks. There you bloody Not so fast. In fact, I want to do a small tweak to my early door insane 2025-2026 Premier League predictions. And in fact, Man City aren't going to win the title. They're actually going to get relegated. That's right. The 115 charges are finally going to come and bite them in the ass, which will see the end of the Pep Guardiola era. We'll see the end of the Moneybags era. And in fact, we'll see Man City not only relegated to the Championship, but they may even be relegated beyond the Championship and maybe into League One or even League Two. Who bloody knows? So they will go down. They'll be joined by Burnley, them six-fingered banjo-playing weirdos, and of course, Sunderland, that's right. So they will join them in the doldrums in the Championship. And of course, it'll guarantee Mikel Arteta a title with Arsenal. And of course, the glory of London, once again, will be red with Arsenal. But that's it, guys. That's my take. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below as we look forward to a brand new season. The 2025-2026 season is around the corner. We'll keep you up to date with my predictions. They are likely to change, of course. We might even hear about those 115 charges before we even kick a ball, which means I might have to go back on this. But let me know your thoughts and opinions about that. And of course, come back for more action right here at Blackburn Overseas.